This week on the latest episode of The Big Show, the Thanksgiving season is upon us, and we have so much to be thankful for. Critic Choice Association board member and veteran film critic Shawn Edwards will be our special guest as we talk upcoming awards films, as well as the top 30 black sitcoms of all time. Plus, Wilson Morales will also recap the week in entertainment, and we'll have all that and more on episode 427 of the home edition of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon. I am joined by my co-host, and man, I'm most thankful to kick it with on a weekly basis, Charles Kirkland Jr. What's going on?
What's happening, Tim? I thought you were going to forget my name for a second there. You said Charles Kirkland Jr.
Gotcha. Charles Kirkland Jr., what's going on, man? You good?
Man, this has been a crazy week. I had some guests over, and we watched that movie, The Lie. I told you I did a review for that one for our site. Okay. And I think I gave it a C, man. I went back and I saw that movie. I had to bump that thing up to a B-. The Lie is actually pretty good with Joey King and Peter Skarsgård and one of my favorite actresses, Muriel Enos. Very good movie.
Look at you opening up the show with reviews, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. You know, and also we are thankful that Charles Kirkland will become a real critic pretty soon, and he understands what that means. That he's already a critic, but he's going to be treated like the creme de la creme of Critic C. That's a word I made up, Critic C. That means that you are a vet, that you've been vested. You know, it's not about Rotten Tomatoes. It's not about this. It's about how you get treated by the streaming services and the studio. So that's a part of being a critic, man.
I'm very honored to be welcomed into the celebrity community of critics who have prior access to such things as Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus. So, you know, I'm moving up.
You are, man. So you see my face up the whole time you talk. I'm like, huh? All right, man. So yeah, we got a big show coming up today. Like I said, the holiday season is upon us, man, and we just do what we do, man. I mean, every week we churn them out. But before we get to Wilson Morales, I want to also say that I'm also thankful, because today is everything about thanks. Thankful that we got a new home, man. We have relocated from our last home, which is Blog Talk Radio, and we are now on Spreaker, live and in person. So if you want to check us out during the week, we're at Spreaker.com/FilmGordon, and you can listen to Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Now, they don't have all 400 of our episodes up, Charles. They got about 140 and some change up, so we'll work on that. But we also have to incorporate all the shows that we've done since the pandemic started. So we've done close to 25 shows over the last 5 months, man. So we need to get that stuff up. But you can check us out. We're over at Spreaker.com, as well as iTunes, CastBox, and all the other streaming services that you want to check us out. So we are very happy finally to have a new home, because it's been a minute.
Ecstatic. And if you haven't subscribed to our show yet, please do so. Click that box and say, I want to get this added to my account whenever we post a new one. Do that now.
Right, and we're talking about our YouTube page. So if you want to go and check us out on YouTube, as Charles was saying, just go in and subscribe. We're doing pretty good, man. We're getting our subscriptions up, man. So having a lot of fun. But without any further ado, a man I really want to talk to, coming out of New York, it is none other than my brother from another mother, Wilson Morales. What is going on, Wilson? How you doing, bro?
Good. It's a Saturday. It looks like we're on time.
He is funny. Wilson is funny.
You got jokes, huh?
So, Wilson, I know you don't have anything to do today, so you hanging out for the whole show, because Shawn is going to be on. And I called Shawn a couple of days ago. It was his birthday. And Shawn made a good point, man. You know, this would be the time me, you, Shawn, and all the other members of CCA, we would normally be sitting out in LA right now, You know, whether it's Ma Rainey, whether it's Hillbilly Elegy, whether it's whatever Netflix movie they have, man. So that I miss, Wilson. That camaraderie, that us getting together every year for award season. You know, me, you, Clayton, Travis, Shawn, Jamal, all of us getting together and doing our thing, man. I miss y'all, man. I haven't seen you in a year.
That's how it is for a lot of people. I haven't been to Brooklyn. I have not been anywhere. It's like, I think I've seen a total of maybe people who I really know. 3 people.
Wow. You sound like me. I've seen 2 of my closest friends maybe 3 times since March. It's brutal, man. And before you get started, I want to say one more thing. I was thinking about this recently, that, you know, the holiday season is normally about people getting together with family and friends, and by virtue that we're robbed of that for the pandemic, I just want to make sure that we're all mindful that there are people out there, bro, during the holiday season that are struggling, man. You know, they don't have anybody. And, you know, we need to make sure that this entertainment that we're doing it for folks like that, give you some sort of a respite in the middle of the day. So having said that, Wilson Morales, you had a big week, man, in entertainment, bro. Coming to America 2 is moved. You've put up some Jakey Christmas movies that you've talked about. I mean, you have, bro. I mean, I saw one that you recommended. I ain't saying no names. I went and checked it out on the streaming service last night. I was like, Wilson, take that down, bro.
Here's my thing. My job is not to be judge and jury. My job is to let people know what their options are. You know, it's kind of funny. I promoted other Christmas movies, but this one in particular movie, I was like, people were like, are you serious? I was like.
So it just ain't me. Is that what I'm saying?
Know, it ain't you. I was like, listen, you know, I'm just here to let people know there's another Christmas movie out there. You know, not everything can be jingle jangle.
You ain't lying.
Amen. Amen.
You know, and, you know, here's the thing. We get a gazillion Christmas movies around this time. And interesting enough, when you think about it, those are original movies. They may seem hokey. They may seem corny. You know, you like, they may have those, they may have talents, you know, that you would say, I ain't watching this movie. It's like, if he's a star of it, it was like, or she's a star of it, like, nah. You know, and then like, hey, but you know, when you've been home all this time, and for some people, they have not left anywhere. You know, I was supposed to go to Chicago for Thanksgiving, but that's like going down the Titanic. You know,
what is wrong with you, man?
I was like, no disrespect to anybody living in Chicago.
Right.
You know, but I'm living in New York, and they were like, well, the state of Illinois. I'm like, okay. You know,
hey, man.
And I'm like,
he says like going to the Titanic.
You know, you're watching TV, and there's, you know, obviously for us people who are press, you know, we've seen a lot of movies already. And then, hey, you know, like, what's original? If you don't have your favorite shows, there are these movies out there. Some of them are like, there's an audience for everybody. You know, like it says, there's an audience for everybody. I remember, you know, there are movies that certain talent, they do very well at the box office. Have done movies, and I'm like, people want to go see that, you know? And it's like, hey, you never know. Or certain songs by certain singers, I'm like, yo, that's catchy. You know,
so wait a minute, Wilson. Watch this. So last night I came home and I said I wanted to revisit something that I know was good. So I've been watching a lot of Disney Plus. So I said, let me watch Avengers Endgame. 3 hours, 3 minutes. Brilliant. Loved it, right? It was over. I said, now it's time for a Christmas movie. Wilson recommended some movie called The App That Saved Christmas. Man, I went and looked at the trailer and was like, I'm good. And then I tried to watch Christmas in Compton, and that was even worse.
I didn't recommend that. I've never heard of that one. I did not recommend that one.
Christmas in Compton is Omar Gooding and somebody else is from like 2 years old. But The App That Saved Christmas, bro, I'm telling you, that has got to be the worst Christmas trailer. I just sat there and I looked at my lady and we were like, nah. We're not going to do it to ourselves, man. So that's what I thought about Wilson. I was like.
But here's the thing, you know, there's a lot of movies that, you know, I remember when I got in this business, you know, and there were a couple of veteran press people, critics, who found something in every film. And my thing is, okay, you know, the talent that's in that movie, you know, I don't know if it's poorly directed. I've not seen it yet, you know, but, you know, let the audience decide what they want to see. Netflix picked it up. It could have been on Tubi, you know.
Could have been on Quibi, Tubi,
you know, like
BETE.
Someone at Netflix picked it up and goes, "Hey, we can get an audience." There was a movie that came out early this year called John Henry.
Oh my God, yeah, bro. Ooh, that one smelled too. I still smell John Henry.
So let's just say, you know,
I think John Henry started the pandemic.
My thing is, not everything black is of gold standard. You say, I just tell people, here's your option. You decide whether or not you want to check it out. You know, all I told you, I said, hey, here's a movie that's playing on Netflix. I threw in no adjectives. You know, I just said, here's a movie that's playing on Netflix. It's directed by so-and-so. It stars so-and-so in the plot. That's your decision to make. Decide if you want to go out there. The only thing I recommended recently was Gangs of London, which just finished its run on AMC. And it's a gritty series coming out of England. It's like Game of Thrones meets the show that's on HBO that with Brian Cox. I forgot what it's called, but it's a good series.
I normally would help you, Wilson, but I'm like,
nah. But check it out. Check out the episodes of Gangs of London, and you'll be like watching it straight through.
All right, before we bring Shawn on, man, where are you? Felicia Rashad reached out to me and said she has recommended on 2 occasions to you 2 shows, a Turkish show and some other show. Where are you at on the Felicia Rashad recommendations?
I'm still trying to find it on a Fire Stick. No, I'm just kidding.
Because weren't they Netflix shows?
No, actually, they're Netflix shows. She recommended a couple of Turkish shows, you know, and I was surprised because the one thing I said to Felicia Rashad is that, like, you know, a lot of actors always tell you they don't have time to watch their own movies or other stuff because they're always working. So to hear an actor tell you that, like, oh, I've seen this episode, I do go to the movies, I watch this movie with my son, you know, it's always, hey, you know, they're being normal like every one of us. You know, at the end of the day, all these actors have seen movies. That's the reason you got in the business. You know, and granted, some actors work harder, and I'm not saying work harder, they just have a busy time schedule, whether they have kids, whether they're doing anything else, whether they have side gigs. And, you know, and it's not always easy. Maybe nowadays, because, you know, for the most part, we're all home, and it's like, okay, if you're not watching anything on TV, what are you doing? Are you, you know, reading books, listening to music, you know, feeding birds, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, you know, but he's found time to watch a couple of shows, and, you know, she gave him some recommendations. So I applaud her for that.
So Wilson Morales, man, I'm going to ask everybody this question around the horn, man. We're a week out before Thanksgiving, man. So in 2020, whether it's cinematically, well, I'm going to keep it cinematically, man. What are you most thankful for that of our business this year?
Gifts. You know.
Okay.
Wow, Wilson, really? That's you went to all of the gifts that the studios are giving you: T-shirts, alcohol.
Here's the thing. You know, the movie business has been hit hard. Obviously, if you're only focused on the movie business, then you are hit hard because this, you know, obviously everything got pushed back to next year. For every time you want to get ready to work on a project, then you hear, oh, it's being pushed back a couple of months, or 2021. It's like, oh, you still got to come up with something the next day. So thankful, you know, that some of these studios have streaming platforms where they either sold projects to or putting it on there, like Mulan, you know, like the Trial of the Chicago 7, you know, where you can enjoy it, you know, and a lot of the streaming platforms have stepped up with more content, you know, so that people could enjoy movies or, you know, or have them. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, in our business, we've all found ways to pivot in doing different things, you know, whether we're taking on more work or doing more TV or podcasts or whatever, you know, you got to find ways to kind of keep surviving, you know, like the talent is still there, you know, and I'm sure they also have found ways to pivot and doing work, whether it's being on the small screen or big screen. And they just need. We all have to create a synergy amongst each other in terms of like, hey, at the end of the day, whether the movie is good or bad, it's still a product. And my job is, here's your option, because, you can look at the trailer, and sometimes not every trailer is a sell. Some of them don't look good, but then you look at the movie and you're like, it's not bad. And you say to yourself, either they revealed too much in the trailer, or they didn't do a good job with the trailer. And then you sit there and you watch, you're like, it wasn't as bad as, like, I saw a movie recently that I did interviews for, and the trailer looked kind of silly. But I watched the movie, and midway I said, okay, there's something here with this movie, But, like I said, you can't get all, you can't judge everything by a 2-minute trailer, even though that's supposed to be a lot to lure you in.
Right. All right. Well, I'm bringing Shawn Edwards in right now, and the show is about to get lit because Shawn is Shawn.
You have that.
Do you have a picture this week, Mr. Edwards, or you still got us on? Does he have us on mute? Oh, there he is.
I'm ready.
Oh, there he is.
Y'all wasn't ready. Y'all gotta be ready.
I'm introducing you. I'm like CCA board member, veteran film critic, Fox 4, Kansas City. The only brother who looks cooler than all of us, even on a kind of a Zoom situation. It's still Shawn.
You got me coming off the bench.
Coming off the bench? What are you talking about, man?
I'm not Rondo, bro. I'm not Rondo.
Oh my God, man! What's going on with you, bro? Happy belated birthday to you again.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So what are you, a young Chris, like 35 now, 36?
I'm old, man. I'm older than Trump.
Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that.
So I just finished asking Wilson, what did he have to be thankful for? I'm gonna ask you the same question. What do you have to be thankful for cinematically this year? Whether it was Mank, whether it was Hillbilly LG, whether it was these
none
jokes.
of them. I was ready to say none of them horrible movies.
These are like bananas.
Go ahead, Shawn. What you got to be thankful for?
You named 2 cinematic sleeping pills. We ain't trying to do that. I'm trying to stay awake, not fall asleep. The movies was hard. The movies was hard to watch. I was thankful I made it through them horrible movies. They hard to watch. The movies was hard to watch. Terrible, man.
There you have it. Shawn
Edwards. I'm not saying anything, man. I'm waiting to see Wilson's reaction on this.
Them preordained Oscar contenders from the herd. Preordained Oscar contenders from the herd. Can we have some? I'm like my man Black Thought. We need individual thought, not follow the herd. Yeah, we're gonna follow leader. We're going back to like preschool. Ain't that where we played that game?
Hey, Shawn, watch this. Hey, Wilson. What's number 1 on your list this year?
Mank. He followed the herd. He a herd follower. He fell asleep during Mank.
Mank. It's not Mank. I have to look back to see what I really like.
Right now it's Mank. Go to GoDerby.com. It's Mank. Facts, baby. Don't trump us, baby. Facts, man. Don't trump us. Don't pull the Donald Trump, baby. Facts. GoDerby.com.
I enjoyed Sylvie's Love. I enjoy Juneteenth. Stories that are compelling, that get you going, that you can I won't say relate to, because some of them are, the period time is not within me. But, you sit there and watch it. Mank is a good cinema. Cinematically, it's good. As far as do you get the story? I'm Googling, like, who is this guy, Mank? What did he do?
You know who Herman Mankiewicz was?
You had to Google Mankiewicz.
Watch this, Wilson. We got to talk to you, bro.
We got to pull his film school. We got to pull his film school card.
I knew who he was right away, but in terms of
his grandson, who his grandson is.
Outside, I didn't know his background outside of just he wrote Citizen Kane.
You see Shawn and I looking at you. Look, you didn't. Okay, I ain't gonna say. You know his grandson, right?
They recording this.
Wow. Wilson, I'm telling you, I love you, man, but we got to talk.
I have not met his grandson in person. Have you?
But you know who he is, though?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just checking, man. All right. So I like Sylvie's Love a lot. I saw that at the Middleburg Film Fest about a month ago. That's my movie. I love that one. That one. And then Jingle Jangle. I remember telling people how excited I was about that movie. Man, you know, David E. Talbert, who I would readily admit who I know, and his first movie was horrible. I hated First Sunday. I really did. And
like I said, it's all for everybody.
And Baggage Claim wasn't much better.
Baggage Claim was, I was going to say the same thing.
It wasn't much better. So they gave him some money and he had a vision. He was able to pull Jingle Jangle out, because I did not expect that movie to be as well received and as entertaining as it ended up being. I really did not.
Jingle Jangle hot. That's the one movie right now that real people are talking about. They ain't talking about all this other foolishness. That people like, hey, have you seen Jingle Jangle? And we should be celebrating, you know, as critics of color, we should be celebrating Jingle Jangle the way the other folks celebrate Mank in terms of execution and cinematic quality. Because, I mean, set design, costume design, editing, sound design, sound mixing. See, that's where we come up. That's where we come up short. We never band together. You know, they band together. We gotta start banding together and celebrating stuff that's dope, like Jingle Jangle, which you know, honestly deserves like at least 8 Oscar nominations on the technical side. You know, we can scream and shout about David Fincher. We can scream and shout about David E. Talbert. That movie's dope. That movie technically is every bit as blowing you away as Mank.
It's almost flawless. I cried from the moment that thing started, just from the beauty of the
looks
set.
Good. Looks good.
You cried.
Yeah, it's not in black and white, but it looks good.
You know, the question is whether or not people are going to look at it past a Christmas movie. You know, because at the end of the day, how many Christmas movies have been in the running? You know, like they've been other.
Matter who sets those rules. We're here to break those rules. It doesn't
matter.
And
you wanted a gold derby, dudes. Come on, Wilson.
Yeah.
You know, so I ain't saying that, man. Between you, do I need to get Clayton on here too and Jazz on here too?
Just go to goldderby.com right now. You can see what my number one is. I don't, you know, I'm a real brother.
Man, Shawn Edwards from Kansas City, Wilson
Go
Morales
look at my
out of
number
New York. You know, we DC based here, but yeah, man. So again,
I may not be in DC, but I got a DC mentality, baby. Chocolate City.
Well, not anymore, Shawn. Unfortunately,
it used to be.
I know it used to be Chocolate City. I know gentrification done got us all.
So let's talk a little bit about Sylvie's Love, man. Tessa Thompson, Nnamdi Asomugha. Again, I went in. Eugene Ash is the director. I'm not thinking much of this film. I'm like, okay, let me check it out. I want to see what it is. A love story set in the late 50s, early 1960s in Harlem. Tessa Thompson and the chemistry of what her character represents with Nnamdi Asomugha ain't really about a lot of race. It's just a straight love story. And it looks good. The music, I thought about my father the whole time I was watching it. I'm like, man, I wish he was around to listen to this score. I thought it was a really well done movie. Good politics in it, you know, looking at Tessa Thompson as a female TV producer. Is it Sterling K. Brown's wife that plays her boss in this? I forget the sister's name, the actress.
Yeah.
I really liked Sylvie's Love. Am I the only one?
No, it's dope. It's dope. And the big winner, who knew that one of the big winners of the pandemic would be jazz music? I mean, between Sylvie's Love and Soul, I mean, man, jazz had a little small come up. I mean, you know, I know a lot of people are not into jazz like that, but I mean, from an exposure standpoint, that's a good look. No, it's a solid movie. I don't, you know, most people haven't seen it. I hate hyping stuff up, you know, when the mass audience hasn't had a chance to check it out, which, you know, they're going to be watching this and like, well, damn, they keep talking about it. We can't see it. So, you know, I'm not going to say a lot about it.
I mean, you got about a month, right?
You got a little more than a month before people can see it. So I never like to really hype it up, because that kind of makes us look like arrogant idiots. Like, yeah, we seen it, but you didn't. Because I hate when critics do that across the board. You know, that's how they live and die on Twitter. I saw it first. It doesn't matter if you saw it first or saw it 1,000. You know, but people like take a lot of pride in that. So I hate to just like over talk something that people don't have access to.
Well, the other thing was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I saw that Variety put their review out. I was like, man, the movie won't be out, man, for another month.
I know. Variety's a trade.
You know, the embargo was released on Friday.
Yeah, but still,
But still,
to Sean's
real people
point,
can
I mean,
see
if
it.
I
Real
put
people
my
can
review
see it.
up now,
Nah,
nobody
it's
can see the
pointless.
movie
It's
for a month.
pointless. It's pointless.
Yeah,
It's
you know,
pointless.
there's obviously, you know, they're all everybody. That's how the machine works. You know, everybody wants those reviews early, and you know, I guess they've talked to enough people, have got enough buzz, and like they want to create the buzz. Problem is, it's going. People, a lot of people have Netflix, so they don't have to worry about people not seeing it. People are going to go see it. You know, this would matter if it was going to the theater and you want to create that buzz so people can go see it on Christmas Day. But it's going to hit Netflix and people are going to see it then. So I like you're right. I don't see a point of putting out the reviews this early, you know. But I guess Hollywood's trying to shut down in about 2 or 3 weeks, and they just want to get the buzzwords out there.
It's not like the movie needed hype because of the natural hype that's built into it. It's Chadwick's last movie. Everybody was going to tune in to see it. So, I mean, you don't really have to go out there and give it any hype. It's got its own built in. But again, that's just the way the whole system is. They're gonna hype a movie just
That's
to hype
true.
it.
Well, I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with promoting it, but in terms of like putting out like a full blown review that far in advance, that's kind of like silly. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think
what happened.
There are trade magazines though, so I mean, nobody on the planet that lives a real life reads that stuff.
No, but I was going to say, I think the big thing was last Saturday when they showed it to all of us for the first time and other critics, how everybody to a person got on. And, you know, I read Wilson, I read what you wrote, Sean, I wrote my piece about how impressed everybody was with Chadwick Boseman. I was like, man, wow, that was a really good performance. But as I told Sean, we were talking earlier this week, I said it reminded me a lot of when I watched Dreamgirls. Like anybody who plays the Effie role in Dreamgirls,
he had a 70% head start.
Yeah, I mean, you know that's the role that's going to always stand out. If you've ever seen August Wilson's work, and I've been blessed enough to have seen all 10 of his Century Cycle plays,
it's also like anybody. It's also like any actor who plays the Joker. You know?
Right. I mean, you starting off with a showpiece role.
Right. I mean, that's why everybody's like, Joaquin Phoenix. Like, duh. Like, really? Was that hard?
Yeah. You get that every year. It's whether or not the execution is better than what you expected. You know, speaking of Chadwick, you know, Marvel, Hollywood Reporter announced that, you know, from what their sources are telling them, that Black Panther 2 is going to start shooting this summer.
July.
You know?
Maybe.
We'll see where we're at. But, you know, they're tentatively going to start shooting this summer. So I think, you know, more than likely, they're saying July. So I'm assuming 2 months before that, possibly, you're going to get an announcement as to who's going to play Black Panther. I can't see them. This is business. You know, we all love Chadwick. And obviously, when somebody dies, at the end of the day, there have been more Supermans. As Sean just mentioned, there was another Joker. You know, there's going to be another Black Panther. Somebody's going to play that role because it's just business. And there was a Black Panther before Chadwick. You know, there's going to be a Black Panther after Chadwick because the comic books are still being written as well.
But let's go back to Ma. We kind of got off Ma Rainey. The one thing I'll be curious to see is when people actually do catch up and watch it is, you know, Chadwick's getting all this praise for his performance. I mean, overall as a movie, I don't know if a lot of people are going to really enjoy it. Like, I just, I don't have that sense. I don't have that vibe. I mean, it wasn't necessarily an enjoyable watch for me, and it was awful stagey.
Well, no, let me jump in, Wilson. I was going to say, for me, I like the performances, but still to this point, and it's been a week now, I just don't know how I feel about the movie. I like the performances. So I think Sean might be on to something as it relates to that. Now, I did enjoy Fences a lot more than I enjoyed Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I will say that much. Really? I did.
I think Fences has kind of left you the same way, I think.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know, it's a great performance by the people in it, but as a movie in a whole, you're just kind of
that's the thing when you do an adaptation from a play is whether or not the performances are there. It's the words, you know, they're going to sell. It's whether or not everything outside of that. You know, there's another movie that's being talked about called The Father, which stars Anthony Hopkins, and he's being highly touted for a Best Actor nomination. And right now, it's you know, to some circles, he's the front runner. That's based on a stage production as well. I haven't seen it, but, you know, the question is, you know, in a year where a lot of big movies are on our side, these movies may actually stand out, you know, and be up there. It's gonna take
Let me just say
It's
this.
the same problem that movies like Cats and all these other stage plays have when they come to the screen. They just do something.
It's the difference between a stage play and a stage musical. Musical, there's a lot going on. Play is just like One Night in Miami. They have the same thing. You know.
Okay. Can I just say this? I get tired of you know, I've been in this game for almost 30 years as a critic, right? And I get sick of listening to, and I'm just gonna say it out loud, white critics telling me what movies we should be looking at, and they hyping them up. How come our stuff doesn't get hyped up? How come
I just said it earlier because we don't do it. I said
our job to
we
hype them. If we don't hype them, then who's going to do it? So we got to step up there and take the forefront and hype our movies.
Right, like Chuck D said, every brother ain't a brother just because of the color, and you got a lot of film critic brothers who want to impress the other, and that's what happens.
Well, my thing is, you know, there's not enough people, if any, who could move the needle. Obviously,
you don't have to move the needle.
You know, there's a lot of white press who actually write and have sites that talk about the Oscars. Clayton is the only person of color who's now got a bigger job over Variety that's, you know, touting some of these films like One Night in Miami, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Juneteenth. But, you know, he's not the only one. You know, obviously, if you get other people, you know, in certain positions to keep talking about it, then we create enough buzz where you're going to have your other colleagues say, you know what, I've been hearing about these movies. Let me go check it out. You know, because it ain't going to be about, oh, it's a good movie. It's got to be more than just saying it's a good movie. You got to have an avalanche of people talking about it, you know,
Shawn,
like we're doing.
Shawn, okay, I'm gonna address this to you because what Wilson just said, I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm just saying I run the DC Film Critics, right? Charles, how many black members do we have in our Critics Association? Do we have 5 out of about 60?
7 or 8.
So we got 7 people out of 60, right? And I've talked to these critics who are my colleagues who treat black films like they're niche films. Like, you know, I might watch them, I might not watch them. And I think that's part of my problem is that when you talk about the Oscars, right? The Oscars, we know what they represent. We know historically what they've done, and we know that they have disenfranchised people of color. They've gotten better over the last 20 years, but prior to like the first 70 years, you could throw a rock almost. I mean, you could just look in a room and count the number of black folks who had been awarded Oscars or had been given Oscar consideration over those years. So I'm kind of torn because I understand the importance of it. But at the same time, I think that the system doesn't start at the Oscar level. It starts at the local critic level of your colleagues. Like, what are you guys doing in Kansas City? What are you guys doing in New York?
I resigned from the KC group in 2002. So because I was like, I could care less and started my own stuff. I mean, that's how Africa got created. I mean, you know, right. I've never been the type of person that I don't follow. I've never followed a herd. I don't care what other people say. I mean, that's why Africa got started, Celebration of Black Film, I Love Black Movie. I mean, all this stuff I do, I'd like, man, I don't care. I'm going to create my own narrative. That's why I did my own 100 best black film list. Because, I mean, you know, I'm tired of people trying to tell me Citizen Kane's the best movie ever. Just like I'm tired of people trying to tell me Mank is that great. I watched it. Like, I ain't got eyes. Are you serious?
You know, they're looking at it from their perspective, and we're looking at our own films. Like we're saying, oh, you know, if it's not going to be Ma Rainey, and if it's not going to be One Night in Miami, what is the film of color that we're going to push right up there so it can be part of that 5 conversation? Because there's more of them than us. At the end of the day, when it comes to voting, we can say Ma Rainey, we can say, you know, the other ones, but we need enough of us to push that into the conversation so that one, we're gonna need a little bit more than just black folks liking this movie, so it can be a universal movie. We know what we like individually, but you know, obviously, to be part of the conversations that everybody knows about it, you need more folks. I don't want this to be a black thing. Only the black folks like, only the white folks like. Nah, it's got to be a film that we all like at some point or another. You know, so like
this is the one area where I agree with Monique. she was always saying, she treats her Oscar the same way she treats her NAACP Image Award. And I think that's the mentality to take. I mean, celebrate your own and then create your own narrative, write your own history. And I think that's what a lot of us are afraid to do. And I would put afraid in all caps. Like, a lot of us are afraid to create and tell our own narrative, point blank.
But, some of those award shows, they're public award shows. Like the
Doesn't matter. Create
they're
your own narrative. That's how the Academy Awards started off the same way. They just kept doing it and doing it and doing it until finally it got set in stone. I mean, they used the Donald Trump approach. If somebody keeps yelling and telling you something over and over again is the right way to do it, after a certain period of time, you start to believe it. Like, they've been telling us, I've been to film school. They tell you for years and years that they keep telling and screaming that Citizen Kane is the best movie. After a while, you just throw your hands up in the air and be like, oh, okay, it's the best movie, when you know it's actually not. And that's why you got to control your own narrative, write your own history, take control one step at a time, ignore the other stuff, do your own thing.
Well, that's what also made Mank interesting, because, of course, it was the telling of the creation of Citizen Kane. And a lot of the facts, like, I knew who Herman Mankiewicz was. I didn't know, I'm with Wilson, I didn't know to the degree of the alcoholism and all of the other stuff, but I understood that there was a dispute that Orson Welles, we now know, didn't write Citizen Kane, tried to take the credit for writing Citizen Kane. But as a movie, I'm just gonna say, as a movie.
Well, like I said on air the other day, I owe Andre 3000 a check, because I will never, ever, 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 ever watch that movie again.
Well, hey, man, like I said, but you're right. I mean, we're not reviewing these movies early, because a lot of the movies that we're talking about, and we haven't even started talking about One Night in Miami yet, which all of us had an opportunity. You saw it, about a month ago, Shawn?
Yeah, it's about that. I forget. Yeah, was it about a month? I've lost track. It's so much stuff, but yeah.
I saw it about a month ago as well, and knew the story. When I say knew the story, you know the principles, and you know that there was some friendships between them. Fictionalized account of that night in the room. Regina King was getting a lot of love early. I personally am like, if you're talking about it's hard for people of color in Hollywood, women, it's damn near obsolete and impossible for them. So I don't know how, between Nomadland with, how's her name pronounced? Is it Chow? What's the director's name?
I got 3 or 4 months. I got 3 or 4 months to learn it.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm talking about. So the director of Nomadland is getting a lot of love, and then they're talking about Regina King. You got to remember, there's only been 6 Black women nominated. Or I'm sorry, am I correct? Yeah, 6 that have been nominated for Best Director.
No, it has not. No, there has not.
I'm sorry, not Black women. 6 women.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
I'm sorry, 6 women nominated. My apologies. I didn't want to say Black. 6 women nominated. Okay, and I can't see this being a year that you're going to have more than 1 out of 5. I just don't see that as a possibility.
Maybe. I'm not going to make that call yet. Maybe.
Okay.
I said maybe. It's a
Watch this. Regina King for One Night in Miami?
Probably not.
Okay. That's what I'm telling you.
You go there, you're going to have to go. Remember, usually when they nominate the director, they also nominate the film. So it's going to be like Regina King in terms of director and picture, maybe something else. And then remember, you also have Ma Rainey, so like, I think Chad's going to get in. I think Viola's going to get in. It's going to be, does the film get in?
We're talking director right now, though.
We're talking about director, though.
We're talking director.
George C. Wolfe get in? It's like, we ain't never had 2 Black directors nominated in the same year.
No, George C. Wolfe's not getting in.
Does Spike Lee get in for his movie that came out earlier?
No, not anymore.
And remember, we still have Judas and the Black Messiah that's still slated to come out. You still have a Lee Daniels movie that's still slated to come out. And then you don't know what a movie is going to come out between January and February 28th. This early on, they've been talking. Somebody mentioned, it's not a Black director, but the movie that Zendaya just did with John David Washington. You don't know what's going to happen. It's like the goalpost has moved. And because of that, a lot of leeway for a lot of different films. And there's a lot of politics in play. DGA, getting into the director's top 5, that's not easy. There's been plenty of years where we said, they're going to get it, and they don't. There's always 2 or 3 that don't get in. So Regina King, right now, if you were voting, I think, because the pundits are saying she's going to get it, she might get in. But at the end of the day, I don't know who is it just the director's branch that vote, or is it everybody?
Well, you know how the nominations work. The branches have to nominate, and then if they get nominated, then the entire academy. Yeah, I mean, we know how it works. But I wanna pivot back to something you said, because there's one movie that's been getting a lot of love, and I am skeptical. I'm just saying I will have to wait until I see this movie, but I am not hyped about Daniel Kaluuya playing Fred Hampton in Judas and the Black Messiah. I really am not. I saw that trailer and I was like, again, maybe y'all seeing something I don't see.
The trailer did not. The trailer did zero for me.
Wilson is hyped about this movie. I'm like,
to me, and Tim, you do a show twice a year. You used to pre-COVID, where you evaluate trailers. A lot of times, trailers don't really do a film justice, and I'll agree. The trailer for this one is terrible, and it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. But I mean, it could turn out to be something decent. Who knows?
Well, social media went crazy. I remember when I saw the trailer when they dropped it.
You just said social media. You got a discount. I mean, I don't. I go crazy over everything that comes
you're right.
out.
I mean, you're right. But again, I think part of what my problem with the film is, and I'll say problem, I haven't seen the film. My problem with the trailer is that I am so steeped in Black Panther history, right? I really understand that period and know these characters, right? And again, I could be wrong. Daniel Kaluuya could embody the essence of Fred Hampton, and I can go, okay, well, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe it's just the trailer. But until I see the film, I can't be excited.
I'm going to tell you something else, too. We live in a country where not many people want 100% of the Black Panthers. I just don't see how this movie is a success, because I don't see how anybody's going to watch it. Like, I think Trial of Chicago 7, that presented just the right amount of Black Panther dosage.
Dang, and that was a low percentage of Black Panther dosage.
That's 1/8. That's about as much as the general audience could take of Black Panther. 1/8 for that.
I still say there was a conspiracy theory against Birth of a Nation. Did they want that to be like, oh, this is the best picture of the year?
Please don't go here, because I'm really still salty behind how all that went down, man. That how Nate Parker got treated, that was shit. And then the fact that people jumped on it, and Wilson, I remember when it happened, Wilson was did you call me, Wilson, or did I call you? Because we talked immediately. And he called me and I said, bruh, I think there's a problem. The movie comes out in 6 weeks. I think they have successfully Tanya Harding this movie, man. They started kneecapping Birth of a Nation. So you're right. I thought it was the content that was way less, as Shawn is saying, it had the proper amount of what the public will actually want to sit through. And I think that we watch a lot of these. You
really think a large percentage of those Academy members are going to even watch that movie? Then you need to get out the game.
Nah.
B, vote for that movie. Then I got a couple bridges in New York and in California I want to sell you.
But Shawn, this is the problem of what we're talking about. We're laughing about it in this instance, but this is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about the Academy Awards. Because for us, we have to sit up annually and stomach them pushing movies at us that we know aren't good. Manchester by the Sea. Raise your hand if you thought Manchester by the Sea was an amazing film.
Dude, my arms just fell off. My arms just fell off.
I'm trying to tell you, man. Like,
produced by a sister,
But how we've been talking almost for an hour, and we have legitimately not talked about the best movie about the Black experience all year, Miss Juneteenth.
Well, Wilson brought it up already.
I wasn't a part of that part of the show.
And guess what? Did she have a shot at anything this year?
No.
Is anybody pushing Nicole?
If she was Emma Stone.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
If she was Jennifer Lawrence.
Or Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
If she was Saoirse Ronan, man, she'd be the front runner.
Young woman taking care of her daughter, trying to get her dreams fulfilled through her daughter. That sounds good. Who's in it? Saoirse Ronan. Check.
I mean, it's every bit is on the same level as Lady Bird. They went gaga, goo goo.
Oh my God!
Shawn Edwards, Wilson Morales, Gold Derby, folks. Well, hello, I'm
They
talking
went
to
so
y'all.
nuts over Gold Derby, people was about to burn the Academy down because old girl didn't get nominated for Best Director. And Channing, who directed Miss Juneteenth, is the same caliber type direction.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, this is a problem.
It's got better.
And we talk about it, we talk about it, whether it's how blacks are being excluded in these junkets. We can't get to talk to our people.
That's a different subject.
I mean, but I'm saying it all is all hand in hand, Shawn. It's that, you having to deal, when you black in this business, man, you having to overcome and deal with a lot of stuff. And I've sat in rooms and listened to critics talk about movies, and I'm sitting over there, my eyes about to roll out my head. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
well, the most egregious,
movies, I have an opinion too.
Well, the most egregious thing that a lot of our colleagues do is they preordain movies. Like, so, and that's a situation that I find most disturbing, and that's why I have a problem with Mank, because a lot of these people, that was already going to be their number one movie in their head before the movie even came out. And once you have those sort of things planted in your head, it's hard to walk people down off that mountain. It happens all the time.
Every year, whether it's movies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You look at a team like, you can say, oh, this team has the best on paper. You can say, oh, this is the best team until they start playing. So same thing for the movies. Somebody's going to have to write that article. Like, what do you think? Oh, knowing how the politics works, how the system works, and the movies that come out in the fall get heavily favored. So when you look to see what's coming up down the road, they're looking at that list and say, hey, sight unseen, if it's an unknown, you're not going to drop it in there. But if it's like, oh, it's Gary Oldman, we know the caliber of his work. If it's Frances McDormand, we know the caliber of her work. It's Viola Davis, we know the caliber of work. They're going to put them up there. Anything that's coming surprising, like a movie like Pieces of a Woman with Vanessa Kirby, goes to the French Film Festival, and all of a sudden it's dazzling enough that, like, oh, Netflix paid $30 million for that movie because they think it's good enough for her to get in the race. I've seen it. I think she can get a nomination along with Ellen Burstyn. So that's what it is. When you have, there's people who get the talk because of who they are, and there's people who get to talk because of the performances despite of who they are. So you can see it, and so whenever it's a performance and they're not that big, this is where we come in, where we got to talk about Channing Godfrey Peoples. We got to talk about Nicole Bahari, because no one's checking for her. No one's seeing enough of her work on a film to say, like, oh, I know.
The problem with today's style of film criticism is you do have quite a few people out there, but they mostly just tweet about it. They don't really write about it. I mean, that's a big problem too.
Because, and the problem is like, it's a question of like, oh, the masses, like, where are you going to get your biggest audience, and obviously there are other people out there, they're looking at, oh, she tweeted about it and she got like 3 million fan base and it goes far, whereas somebody who's very respected but don't have that many followers can say, this is a great movie, but no one's reading it, and so there's a difference between like whose voice you're trying to listen to. Just go back to this whole Trump thing, like, oh, so as long as he still has those 73 million people that voted for him, he ain't leaving yet, because he's like, hey, so long as I got a base, and that's what people do. Like, you have the people out there that are going to following.
No, it's all good. I mean, we're just having fun with it. I mean, we don't have to keep going ad nauseum about how it works. I mean, I'd rather use this platform to talk about what we like and promote.
Is there anything that came out this past week?
A lot of stuff came out this week. But
do we care about it? Do we care about what came out this week, though? Not really.
I mean, there was some cool stuff. I like Black Bear a lot. That was fun.
Okay, Wilson, anything you saw this week that you like?
I like Black Bear. Black Bear was cool. Aubrey Plaza's cool though. She's more versatile than people think. I mean, and that movie was it had some interesting elements. It kind of has some originality to it, which is rare these days. But yeah, Black Bear was all right. It was cool.
Man, you sound like a real film critic, Shawn.
Dude, I go toe to toe with anybody. I just can't do it 247.
Hey, man. No, I got
Sometimes
you
got to put it down. Sometimes you got to let it slide, man. Out here trying to live my best pandemic COVID-19 life.
Hey man. So again, are there any other movies we left out? We've talked Sylvie's, we've talked Ma Rainey, we talked One Night. We did talk One Night in Miami, right?
Why we ignoring the elephant in the room? Have we not watched Mangrove? Come on, Steve McQueen. Dude,
I have not seen Mangrove yet.
Well,
Have
Mangrove.
you, Wilson?
Yes, I have.
I have not seen it yet.
But basically, it's not a. It's a.
This is his
It's a
anthology,
movie.
right?
It's a movie. It's just part of an anthology. It's
Okay.
classified as a feature film.
You know, and it stars Letitia Wright and Malachi Kirby, who played Kunta Kinte in.
I know him. Yeah.
It's a British trial of Chicago 7.
Basically,
Really?
yeah. It's basically on the truth. It's a story about the Mangrove Nine, who basically were trying to fight, you know, the systemic oppression they were facing in England, and they got arrested just because, just like Sean said, the Chicago 7 for starting a riot. You know, almost identical. You know, very almost identical. And obviously, the thing about Steve McQueen is that he wants to tell those stories that are forgotten. They're not in the books. You know, that obviously a certain amount of audiences know.
Or more British-based stories.
Yeah, British.
Yeah, it's more
Black Brits.
Black British based.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Mangrove qualifies. I don't know if it qualifies for the Oscars or the Emmys. I don't know, but it is a feature length. It's a feature length movie, but I don't know what the qualifications
they're
are.
promoting it for Emmys and for BAFTA television.
So it's more of a television. Because I had this question come up this week about small acts. And is this a part of small acts? So I told them that if the Academy is not making this eligible for Oscar, we wouldn't either. So I just got that question.
Right. You got to follow with the with the picture. But if it were a feature film, man, it easily surpasses a lot of movies out there. I mean, it's better than Mank.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wilson has his head down, so I'm assuming he agrees.
No, it's right up the Chicago 7. You know, like you're great to see like these stories and how it plays out, and then you know obviously with both movies you go back to the books because you know they take liberties in movies, and you start to see like, oh, what part is real, what part is not. You know,
it's not as showy as Trial of Chicago 7 because Steve McQueen's not a showy director. Aaron Sorkin, just through the nature of his dialogue, his movies will come across as more showy with that rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, where Steve McQueen is a much more nuanced, much more deliberate. He has a different, style of pacing than an Aaron Sorkin film. I mean, they're identical movies. One just takes place in the United States. The other takes place in the United Kingdom. But both movies are top-tier movies, and both movies are better than Mank.
All right, so we got about 7 minutes left, fellas. And so are there any movies that we've seen in the past year or since this pandemic has started that have been overlooked? I immediately think about Kevin Wilmot in the 24th, which I thought was a pretty decent movie. What are you thinking, Sean Wilson?
Criminal. The 24th was criminally ignored. I'm not sure why. I could go on and on about, choosing the right studio and the right distributor and that sort of thing, but that bores most people to tears. Just catch up with it if you can. I mean, Miss Juneteenth is still criminally ignored, and so is Uncorked. That's criminally ignored.
Now, I know you liked Uncorked, man. Uncorked, maybe when I have to go back and rewatch it again, I wasn't a big fan. I didn't like it as much as you did, but I understood that his name is pronounced Prentice Penny, right?
Prentice Penny.
Prentice. I thought he was doing something interesting because that's something that I don't think we've ever seen in a film like that. So I appreciated it for that, but I just thought that, and I guess it was by nature of how he drew the main protagonist, that it seemed like everybody else was more showier and more out than he was.
Yeah. And another film that's ignored is His House. I mean, the Critic Choice Association just announced their Super Awards, and they specifically had a category for Best Horror Movie, and it wasn't one of the 5, which is just stupidity.
Yeah, that's criminal. That movie scared the bejesus out of me. I watched half of it and
that's
tapped out.
The best horror movie in a while. I mean, you could argue His House. I mean, and don't scream and yell at me, but you could argue that His House was every bit as good as Get Out.
I mean, the only reason why I didn't move is because you told me not to.
I'm just saying, His House. I mean, His house is very good.
A little stretchy, but I can go.
No, but I admit it was really scary. I will say that.
It was very scary. It was genuinely scary.
Wilson?
Whereas Get Out, I didn't find as scary as his house.
Get Out was never scary.
No, it was never scary.
Well, it's psychologically scary.
They're different. They're a different type of film.
Well, of course they are, but I'm just saying it's up there though. I mean, it's a top tier movie. Hey, it's still sitting at 100%. You know, for people who worship those tomatoes, it's at 100%. Because God knows who those people are.
Right. Wilson?
You know, his house definitely is a movie that's worth mentioning. But like Shawn says, a lot of times it's all based on, who the studio is and how much they're putting behind this movie. You know, if you don't put enough in there in terms of the marketing is a big sell. Yeah, there's a lot of good movies out there. And this is why, I try to tell movies, and you weren't on it earlier. We were talking about this movie I posted on IG called the App That Stole Christmas. I go, listen, not my job out there to be saying good or bad. I'm just giving people the option of letting them know it's there. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to wait till my white counterparts saying, yo, his house is great. I'm like, no, we know about it. We just got to watch it. Tell the people, here are these movies. You can decide if you want to watch it or not. So you know that here's an option. That's the thing. Like, no one's promoting. There was not enough promotion for the 24th. Not enough people are talking about Juneteenth. We got to keep talking about and creating that buzz left and right. It can't be just the four of us. But if we have our own audience, we just tell enough people just like, hey, check this out. It's out there. You have options, and there's a lot of.
I find odd because if Miss Juneteenth had been directed by Ava DuVernay, people would have been like, all over themselves, man. It's just weird how, it's just
Shawn,
weird.
It ain't weird. You know what it is. It ain't weird. Ava comes from a publicist background, so whatever she's working on, it's gonna get publicized.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a theme of marketing. Obviously Ava's worked long enough that she's made herself a household name. So anything she does, people are going to talk about. So like for all the other smaller names, we just got to put it out there. Like Shawn said, no one really knows Prentice Penny outside of Uncorked, and he's not. And
you're talking about Insecure.
Yeah. He directed Uncorked, which is his directorial debut on film, even though he's the showrunner for Insecure, and even that he's not so much talked about. And you have Mamadou Atai, who no one really sees as a lead left and right. But you also had, Courtney B. Vance, who always contributes a good performance in most of the projects that he does. So there's a lot of films that are out there that no one really talks about. There was another movie earlier that came out this year, I think, direct Robert Cole. Did you see that movie? The one with Jeffrey Wright and the kid that was in Moonlight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A Day and a Night.
A Day and a Night. Everybody has their own different opinion, but this is a record-breaking year in terms of Black filmmakers who have had their projects out released, whether it's in theaters or on streaming platforms, to get noticed. A record-breaking year for Black filmmakers overall, and another record-breaking year for Black female directors, because the previous year, and I did this before, and not the previous year, 2 years ago, is when you had seven films directed by women, and I think combined that was released in theaters, and that's feature films and documentaries. I can probably say we've tripled that this year. We've tripled that in terms of movies that are being released through Gravitas, through Netflix, through Amazon. Another movie, Seela and the Spades. They came out earlier this year. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but nevertheless, Amazon picked it up. That's out there. You got Garrett Bradley, who's got a documentary called Time that is being talked about, for an Oscar. There's a lot of them.
Wilson, we up against time, man. It is not your responsibility to outlay all the Black films that came out in 2020, man. Stop it. Shawn Edwards, brother, it is always a pleasure to have you on.
Fun. That's cool.
We will definitely have you back.
Good dialogue, man. We just, we like to poke fun. Everybody on here is doing their thing. Everybody does it differently. It's always fun, man.
Shawn,
choose what you choose.
Shawn, tell people where they can follow you and read your content, man.
Man, I don't know. The post office, most wanted sign.
Wilson Morales.
Find me over at Black Film and TV. Same words you use for all social media, but mostly on the site.
I'm gonna do Sean what I did when people ask me. I'm like, man, just Google me, man. You'll see my
Yeah,
stuff,
man. I mean,
just
really,
Google.
I can't.
Just
Yeah,
Google
yeah,
Tim Gordon film critic. It'll come up for you.
just-
Charles
I
Kirkland.
like saying the post office. Don't nobody go to the post office. Where do they put those most wanted signs now?
Charles, where can
effective.
people check you out?
I can be found at thefilmgordon.com. I wanted to say before I go, I'm thankful for COVID because it's forced a lot of people into these streaming services where we got a lot of more exposure for our films than we would have any other time. So I'm thankful for that.
That's a great way to close because he's 100% correct. Like, I know people look at this whole pandemic situation as being bad and horrible, but it's provided some opportunities. And my brother George Floyd, that created another floodgate of opportunities as well with the uprising, and a lot of people started reaching out. Man, definitely received some additional checks because of that in a sad sort of way. But hey, it is what it is. That's the country we live in, and sometimes you got to take advantage of not so good moments.
Well, I'm going to close by saying I'm thankful to be a part of this film community, man. These brothers on the phone, man, we have spent time together. We usually laugh. We're watching movies, whether they're good or bad, but the companionship and respect, I think, is really the key. Love all you dudes, man. Sean, Wilson, Chuck, you guys have a wonderful holiday. We're going to make sure we have you back on, Sean, as we get closer to the end of the year, man. So don't be a stranger.
My man Charles looking like Jamie Foxx in Soul with that bass in the background.
Hey, man. Man, y'all brothers take care, man, and enjoy your Saturday, man. Peace.
All right, man. It's been fun, man.
All right, man.